I know this great dance club under the Taj Mahal. Bunch of guys in gas masks. I drag Makoto and Haru along sometimes. Makoto loves to dance. Haru, not so much.
Yeah, I've seen that guy before. Cats go into his house, but I don't see cats come out of his house.
What goes through your head when you swim, Haru?
Somebody once told me.
You could start by running up the temple staircase into the crypt. Grab the book from the skeletons and pass into the pit of the pendulum.
What up, Trackback?
Trackback.
You run track, and I like seeing you from the back.
I get it.
He wasn't into it.
Did you invite him to that weird dance club where all those guys are wearing gas masks?
No. Maybe. Yes. Shut up.
Ooh, I like that club.
We know.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rolling 20s. We are the show that's watching more family-friendly anime these days with 20% less tentacle rate. I am Jeremy.
I'm Elizabeth.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher, follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. At the beginning of the show, the music you heard was by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on Amazon.com. The clip you heard was from the web series 50% Off by Octopimp. You can find more of his videos under his channel at youtube.com. We are sitting here at the Residence Inn. It is now 9 o'clock. It has been about 4 hours since the Anime Expo has officially shut its doors. And it is more positive than I expected, but it's still very conflicted. Would you like to expand on that sound with any other caveman noises?
I have some problems with this convention. I do. And honestly, the registration, A+. First of all, that is something they've needed to improve upon for years. Years and years. It's been the main issue for a lot of fans. Well, they finally got their crap together. Sort
of. They fulfilled half their promises.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice any tents that they kept promising during registration lines.
Yeah. Well,
they processed people fast enough that I don't think it mattered. There were people that were waiting as of 6 a.m. on day 0 who officially felt like they wasted more of their time than the people who showed up as it opened.
Yeah, seriously. I can imagine.
It actually did run very quickly. However, some caveats to that. They handed out more or less generic plastic badges that had no names on them.
No names, and that bothered a lot of people for obvious reasons.
All they had on them was a cell phone glyph that I imagine tied back to a particular name and registration, but that's only a guess since...
QR codes can only do so much, and I don't feel like they handled that very well.
Nobody explained it to me either, but there were 2 stations running finally, one inside South Hall and another one outside West Hall. And both ran very quickly, thankfully.
Yeah.
So it is an area of much-needed improvement that has finally been improved. But in walking through everything, you still get the idea that communication is way off here.
Yeah, I noticed that the whole con.
You know, it seemed like there were several departments that, while run well individually, weren't talking to each other and caused a big nightmare trying to move from place to place. It's another year where if I asked staffers a question, I would get a different answer depending on who I asked. And that made things relatively frustrating.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to get somewhere. Like, you had a lot going on this convention, and a lot of other people did too. Like, you had places to be.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, some of us were reviewing the emails we got as media prior to arriving that said that we would get priority entrance with the premium fans. So we would have a chance to talk to vendors and take a few pictures before things got heavy. They would not let us in before the regular public.
Really? I didn't hear about that.
They would not. Somebody even showed the email that said that we got priority entrance to the people at press registration, and their simple response is, well, that's not the rule anymore.
That's not how that works, though. They can't just, release this email and get it out to all of you guys and then suddenly change their mind at the event. That's not how that works.
You would think so, but that's apparently how they work.
Well, I don't like that.
So, well, the thing was, it wasn't even like the press was alone in being upset. The staffers running the press lounge even said in themselves, that's ridiculous. How are you going to get anything done? And we just looked back and said, that's our point.
That reminds me of the concert issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The concert issue wasn't necessarily an Axe problem, though. That
No.
was a Microsoft Theater problem. And a rather serious one, because what happened was I managed to get a couple of standby tickets for myself and Elise to get into the Momoro, Clover Z, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons concert.
Yeah.
And we stood in line as directed at 7 p.m. when doors opened. And as I approached with my camera, the staff of the Microsoft Theater would not let me in because my camera was apparently too fancy. Several
Yeah.
people went ahead of me with point and shoots, but because mine was something that wasn't
You know,
a $150 camera, they wouldn't let me in.
yeah, and the problem that I saw there was that there was no redirection. They didn't say, oh yeah, you're press, cool, you come in this store, which was the case according to Sean. They just said, no, you can't come in. And you left
Yeah.
for that reason. You did not attend for that reason.
I left because I was angry and I was already colored. I knew I wasn't going to be much good that night.
Yeah.
But it actually got deeper because there were people who showed up at 6, as directed in an email that I did not receive. They showed up at the back door with their gear and still were not let in. It seemed like they got
see.
very selective all of a sudden at the back door. And again, this is not an Axe problem so much as Microsoft Theater having their rules and not telling anybody.
Yeah, with something like this, with an event like this where they know there's going to be press, they should be a lot clearer on their policies because there are people going out of their way to attend these events.
Yeah. And I wasn't the only one that encountered that problem. I met some of the other pressers who even showed up at the time as directed and still were not allowed in the building.
Oh, wow.
At the back door of the building where they were told to gather. It just did not occur like it was
That
supposed
doesn't
to.
sit well with me at all because, I mean, you guys are here for a reason. You're trying to do your jobs and you're trying to get material out, and you can't do that if the staff, whether it's the theater staff or the convention staff, if they don't work with you, how are you supposed to do your job?
Therein lies the problem. But it's not even like things went all that well from your description.
Yeah,
Go
it
ahead
was...
and tell everybody what it was like inside that concert.
Okay, so we were let in around 7:15, which was only like 15 minutes after we were, let into the main doors. And
Right.
I noticed the crowd was a little bit sparse, and I assumed that it was just because, I'm early. And I looked around, there were a lot of really excited people, but there were only a few obvious hardcore fans. Like, you could tell them, you could pick them out of the crowd, too. They were pumped. And
There
then
were
when-
several people wearing odd-colored shirts that I figured corresponded to the different
They
items.
had the idols on the back of the shirts. If
Okay.
you noticed that, there was apparently one of the members made a comeback recently, and they were all very, very excited about that.
She had some kind of medical or
Yeah.
disorder issue.
I
was
think
not
it was
very clear.
Momoka. Hopefully, I'm not wrong on that because podcast. But so we're sitting in there. When did the concert start? 9?
The concert was officially supposed to start at 8, according to the schedule.
It was closer to 8:30, and the theater was honestly about half empty up until 8. And I noticed that the middle section was pretty full. There were some spots in front of me that never quite filled in, which was odd because it was the middle section.
Right.
And usually it's the first to fill up, right? But then
And-
the side sections, the entire time, the front half was full. And as you slid back, they just gradually became emptier. And during the show, and this was what disturbed me the most, I can count on one hand how many people I saw actively participating in the back half. Actively, encouraging encores, dancing, and shouting out for the artist. In the back half, there were people sitting the entire show with their arms crossed, looking disappointed. There were people standing, chatting in the back rows. There was a couple to my left making out heavily for the last half, and to my right, there was a group chatting about Sailor Moon. And this was, I don't know. It was really not what I expected at all, considering they're the top idols in Japan right now. There was absolutely no fan presence.
Yeah, they are a top 10 group currently on the J-pop charts.
Yeah.
They're a very popular idol group. They're probably one of the better acts that they can get, since it still seems like a lot of major music outlets are very angry with this organization overall.
They're actually the first group that KISS has collaborated with in this way. In all of their time, this is the first group they've collaborated with. This is a pretty fantastic concert. Or it was a really fantastic opportunity, and they kind of blew it with their marketing a lot.
It occurs to me, though, that the last few years I have had issue with Anime Expo over concerts, but I have not gone to them. I've always heard reports that the rooms are about 2/3 full at best, regardless of whether it's at the theater or if it's in the convention center. But now it's starting to occur to me that it could be that musicians don't want to come here because since Sadie, even that 2/3 full room is not an energetic room.
No, it's not. The artists, the idols at this particular concert, about two-thirds through, looked around, and they were clearly a bit baffled. They were disappointed, and they were trying to engage the crowd more because it was a smaller audience. And at one point, one of the idols looked like she was struggling to smile and laugh and keep that peppy attitude that they're known for. Like, she was trying to make jokes, she was trying to talk to the crowd, and then she would just, trail off, she didn't want to be there. And that is a long way to fly for a concert like that.
All I can hope for is that they got some kind of California vacation out of it while they were here.
And I hope they were decently compensated, because that's horrible. It was horrible.
I have no idea. Mark Perez said in a recent interview that even convention or concerts that go well at Anime Expo generally only gross about $10,000 above the cost, and it sounds like this would not get that far.
No.
The description I got was that all the low-end tickets were sold out, all the high-end tickets were sold out, but there was a bunch of mid-tiers that apparently were still available.
Why didn't they hand them out outside, though, like they used to? That would have filled the seats. People would go if they had nothing else to do.
Probably because back in the eras when they used to hand it out, the tickets were either free or they were about $15. Now they're somewhere... That concert was between $45 to $75 before processing fees, which they would still charge. But at that point,
wouldn't you want to just fill the seats? They're not going to sell, so why not put people in the chairs?
I guess the question is whether or not you find more energetic people or if it'd be more lazabouts just sitting there hoping that they just had some place to be.
If I were the person handing out the tickets, I would actively seek out people who looked like they would... I don't know, that sounds a bit odd, but I wouldn't go for the people sitting on the floor just talking with their friends. I'd go for the people who are looking around for something to do.
Therein is the question, though, because as you said, they're all sitting around. We have no idea how energetic these people are for anything.
Well, when you're looking at them, not entirely, but if you talk to them for a second, because the Shoko Nakagawa concert a few years ago, that's how I got in. Someone approached me about 5 minutes before the show started and said, "Hey, do you like J-pop? Oh, do you like girl idols? Oh, you would like this concert." If I were to ask someone those questions, and they said, not my thing, I wouldn't give them the tickets, because they wouldn't be enthusiastic. You know what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from, but after watching this crowd, this is also the same crowd that says they can handle themselves, but will still bring booze into the middle of the dealer's hall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you hear about Renee's experience?
Yes.
Yeah. You should talk about that right now, because, wow.
We'll get into that in a bit.
That bothers me.
Do you two have anything to say? Because the weird hand signals behind us, I don't understand what that is. I'm not going to second base.
Oh, no.
I didn't notice the hand signals.
We were doing bag sounds, so we didn't know if that was going to bother the people, if that was going to affect the sensitivity.
No, if you're going to huff helium, do whatever the hell you're going to do.
All right.
Woo!
You're
already
feisty over here.
I don't know anything else about any other concert that went on this weekend for two reasons. One, because going along with the communication issue, there were a host of emails that supposedly a lot of press people got before they arrived. I did not receive any. I've been checking my email pretty regularly. If it wasn't for some nice people in the press room who forwarded me a few, I would have no preparation whatsoever.
Wow.
The other problem is because most of the MSP work at this point is out of pocket, I can only do what I'm comfortable paying for, and I'm not comfortable paying $30 to $50 for idols and bands that I am marginally aware of and have no personal interest in.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that report would look like if I paid $35 and I wasn't in the concert, how weird and scathing it would probably be. It would probably sound more like I got bad coffee.
Yeah.
And I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
So I really did not see any concerts. The Momoro one was the only one I was moderately interested in, but after dealing with the Microsoft staff, I could tell for the rest of the night, if I saw somebody in a red jacket, I was not going to be kind.
Yeah. I don't know. The staff, even inside, like, you didn't see this, but they were not even just curt with us. Like, they didn't really acknowledge us, and when people would ask about something, like, there were incidents where the girl in front of me would be curious about something, or her friend, and they want to approach someone about it, and they'd try to flag someone down, and they'd look our way, and then they'd walk in the other direction. They didn't want to deal with us. And, I mean, that makes sense, considering the crowd, how anime fans tend to act sometimes. Like, attendees, we aren't always the most respectful. It's a younger crowd. But, I mean, that's not an appropriate way to deal with that situation at all, and I found it very rude. I did.
Okay. Yeah, I actually still have not stepped in that theater even before it was the Nokia. I've just never been inside because I've never had anything there I wanted to see.
It's where the Shoko Nakagawa concert was, too, and that show seemed a lot more enthusiastic. It was a few years ago. I think it might have been 2008, 2009. I might be wrong, but it was very... It was very energetic, and the seats were almost full, and it was so nice, and it's just... I haven't been to a concert in the last 3 years like that. Something about maybe it's the demographic, maybe it's the staff. I don't. It's really uncomfortable.
The hotel situation is actually kind of funny because we managed to stay at the Residence Inn, and thus far, I stayed here once before in regards to Kamikaze in 2014, and the hotel is still, in a word, amazing.
Yes.
I like it here. It is mini suites. I like having the option of having a stove and a refrigerator.
Favorite.
A microwave. Didn't need half of it because the people staying here got a complimentary breakfast. Which is even more bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
As big of freeloaders as anime fans are, I'm kind of surprised the lounge wasn't busier than it was.
Really?
Yeah, granted, I'm an early riser, which means I'm usually one of the first 30 people through the door. But even this morning, I woke up somewhere around 7. I got dressed at about 7:20, and when I say dressed, I was in pajama pants. I wasn't going to get fancy dressed for a bunch of people who were half awake in breakfast.
Yeah.
And I went downstairs, and I got inside, and it was easy finding a large booth to myself with a television, sat down and ate some actual eggs, not like powdered stuff like Denny's or anything. Actual bacon. I just sat down with a frickin' muffin and a banana, and if there was a breakfast food you were into, you might not find it all, but you find at least some type of it there.
You'd find something you could eat and get through your morning.
Yeah, 2 days of the week they serve French toast, 2 days of the week they serve pancakes with, like, freaking strawberries and whipped cream. I mean, shoot.
That's beautiful.
I
haven't been down there yet, but I'm planning tomorrow, my last day, my last morning. I'm going to eat.
They serve actual good food, and I like the people here. The guy that checked me in remembered me from Kamikaze, oddly enough.
Oh, yeah. He was nice. And actually, like, the way the staff in this hotel handle the rowdier attendees, I was really impressed. They were so patient and so calm, and I did not see that at a lot of the other hotels I've stayed at.
Well,
it was cool. It was nice.
It wasn't perfect, though. I got word yesterday from one of my roommates that at least 4 rooms worth of people have been thrown out over the weekend from this hotel.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming they must have done something worthy of being tossed out.
I would guess that's the course of it. However, it's a disturbing trend, though, because a big topic of conversation this weekend has been the former hotel, the JW Marriott. They instituted a lot of new policies this year, including one that says if you didn't have a wristband you received from the front desk as a registered person in the hotel, you weren't allowed above lobby level, I think, after 9 p.m. You were not allowed more than 4 people per room, which is the usual standard in California hotels. If they found any more in there after a certain time frame, I think they got rid of you. They charge every room in the Axe block an excess cleaning deposit per day, from what I understand.
Yeah.
It wasn't laid out to me what the cost of that was. All I know is you don't get it back until they inspect your room after checkout.
Thoroughly.
Yeah. There was a few other things in there, although it all kinds of bleeds together. I've never had an explanation as to what occurred last year, but obviously something went very, very wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see too much of it, but I did hear from a friend that someone did some damage to a wall, as in, like, they punched the wall a lot, and it went badly. He paid for it, but, like, you don't do that in a hotel you're staying at unless you want to pay for it.
And the hotel hates that because although they'll charge you the repairs, that means that room and their revenue is offline probably for a minimum of a week because you have to pull out the old plaster, you have to put in new plaster, you got to patch it twice, paint it, then probably strip that entire wall and put a new coat of wallpaper on it.
Yeah, because, I mean, these walls. But, I mean, you saw what was it, a maintenance man carrying a toilet seat? There are some attendees here who get a bit too rowdy.
Yeah, the guy said it was just a broken toilet and they needed a part from the new seat to fix the old one. He didn't make it sound like it was a big deal, but he did make it clear that some stuff was going on that the staff here didn't appreciate. And he was very careful to use the word appreciate, as if they're not mad yet, but it sounds like they may get that way. And that's turning into a major issue at this con, is that people are treating it as a 4-day party, which it isn't. And the more damage you do, the less likely it is that the hotels will not just be unfriendly, but not want any of us back.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I would like to tell my July 4th story that I told you.
Yeah.
So my friends and I, my roommates, we walked down the hall. We were going to go head down for some coffee. And we step into the elevator, and the first thing out of my mouth was, wow, it really smells like booze in here. And we look down, and the entire floor of the elevator, a good half-inch deep, there's just this puddle of alcohol. It smelled a lot like tequila. Someone had some fun. And
Or Pee Wee Herman just passed her.
Hey! And so we step out of the elevator on the lobby level, and we head over. We're heading down the elevator hall to tell one of the staff about it, and there's a group of people in the lobby, and they're obviously intoxicated. Clearly, like, they could not stand up. And one guy grabbed his friend. He got up with, like, this rush of energy, grabbed his friend who was holding an open cup of alcohol, and started spinning him around. And the alcohol splashed all over the floor, all over the couch, and all over my roommates. And so, at that point, I was pretty done. I laid into them a bit. I can't really deny that. I was not happy because we didn't come down for that. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of attendees here who just kind of want to relax.
Yeah. And
it's not appropriate. So we talked to one of the receptionists, and she was so sweet. She was like, I know you all aren't getting, you're not all like this, and I really appreciate you offering to help, but we got it. And so after a good minute-long conversation with this woman, we walk outside, and the first thing we see is smoke. Smoke everywhere. And then we see, through the smoke, that there is a group of about 6 young men setting off fireworks on the corner of a busy intersection.
Did they have badges or no?
They had badges.
Okay.
They had badges. And 2 of my roommates are asthmatic. So in the span, I wouldn't even say it was like 10 minutes. It was more like 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And I just storm over there. And, like, first of all, it's dangerous. You're on the corner of a busy intersection. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. That just really bothers me. And then they were yelling things like, what? You don't support America? And, like, they said some pretty offensive things, honestly, that I'd rather not repeat on the show. And my roommates are over there, like, gagging, trying to get through the smoke. Like, this is how some attendees actually act. And people wonder why there are hotels saying, no, you know what, we really don't want you here. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't the first time I've seen attendees mistreating a hotel or mistreating a venue. There are stickers of Gudetama, little egg mascot, all over the street, stuck to the cement. You know who's going to have to clean that up? Not the attendees. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I love this con. I do. But I have some major issues with the party mentality. If you're going to be disrespecting public property, don't come. Okay. Done with my rant. That bothered me. It felt so good to get it out.
Let's see. The exhibit hall actually was better, but it still needs fixing. Yeah. There were more large booths. It felt like there were fewer actual generic dealer tables.
Yeah.
I think they did add space to the walking aisles finally.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was really nice. It was still too packed, but...
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It felt like there were less people here overall.
Yes.
That could be because they finally opened up the entirety of the convention center to their use. That could also be because, in a short opinion, is the guest list was not as impressive as it was last year.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But getting into the exhibit hall again, I still feel like that the artists are getting the short shrift sitting in the back of the dealer's hall.
Yeah.
I have not seen any other convention that has it in this particular configuration.
Apparently, they're going to stick them in Kensha Hall next year, though. So.
That is the word I got from a different media person, is that the artist's registration, if it hasn't begun already, will begin very soon.
I think it started yesterday.
And they are now going to be down in Kensha Hall, which is interesting yet frustrating. Because Kensha Hall, for those that don't know, is an additional hall in the convention center that's used, I don't want to say as overflow, but it's just a smaller hall that also doubles as a parking lot. So there's a lot of parking striping all over the floor, and it's not like it's a very dirty place. That floor is polished. I just don't understand why that's down there. What's down there this year was the autograph tables, tabletop gaming, card gaming, and a whole lot of lounge seating.
Yeah, and there were a few small meets in between, like, you know, when you go downstairs, that long hallway, there were a few meets, and I was at one of them. It's not a terribly small space, but I don't know how they're going to make it work when they have that many artists coming in and out.
It's not very clear to me myself, because to put the artists down there, that means they're going to have to move something else. So something else is going to be put somewhere, and I have no idea where.
I wonder if this means they also plan on expanding the dealer's hall. Like the amount of vendors, because
I would say probably
the artists won't be there taking up space.
I would say probably because the exhibitor tables cost about $4,000 per table.
I thought it was 3.
I say 4 approximately because I know it's above 3. I want to say it's 3,500 or 3,750 last I checked.
Jeez, too much money.
But the thing that gets me though about all that is it goes back to the communication, because they put all this lounge seating down there. However, there are still people lining hallways, doorways. All, sitting in the lobby in front of Kensha Hall. They're just sitting everywhere but in those tables, which I imagine is the reason why they're there.
Yeah.
So somebody could have at least told them, you don't have to sit here where it's just cold cement or cold marble. Go take a chair.
Yeah.
Relax for a bit. Stay out of the walking lanes. But nobody really seemed to care about that.
No.
And when I say nobody, I mean nobody in the staff. It's staff and volunteers' responsibilities to communicate that this stuff is available for these people to get off the floor.
Yeah, I have the for the last few years, I've had the distinct feeling that the staff here, the actual LACC staff, they kind of look forward to our event just kind of being over.
Oh, yeah.
We have made things difficult for them, and they've made things difficult for us, and it's just, I don't think this convention center is really too well suited to Anime Expo anymore, to be frank. It's not really working out very well.
Well, I have to come to the Los Angeles Convention Center lately at least twice a year for different events, and the Los Angeles Convention Center staff is easily some of the weirdest and rudest people I run into in a year. However, I didn't see a whole lot of convention center staff. Most of what I saw were either Anime Expo staff or this EES.
Yeah, the event staff.
Services people.
Yeah, they might have just brought some people on, or I don't know. It's weird.
No, I think event services is some third-party dealer
that's what I mean.
that they bring in for a combination of security and just to add bodies. And those people, I don't know what they do as far as events, but fan conventions definitely aren't part of their cycle.
Nope.
They don't have the temperament that I would really need to deal with it.
No.
And it's not even... I almost hazard to point it out, but they do have some serious issues with it, because no matter how many people they put at the front doors, nobody ever watches the side doors.
It's true. That is absolutely true. And I noticed, like, a lot of the bag checks in the front doors were very half-assed. If someone wanted to get in with a concealed weapon, they easily could have. Those bag checks were a bit... Like, I had guys just, I'd hold my bag open, they wouldn't even look. They'd just be like, go, get out of my way. Like, that's not gonna do anything for our safety if that's your intent.
Speaking of which, they may also want to, they may have to start instituting a rule about outside food and beverage.
What?
You didn't hear?
We have food trucks everywhere. Okay, tell me. Talk to me. Oh my god.
One of our roommates, one of your roommates actually, the artist, she was at her table.
Renee?
Yeah. I don't know.
Shorter or...
One of them told the story, however, I can't remember which one of them was the subject of this story.
Okay.
Long story short, she was at her table.
Okay.
She had a couple of younger guys at her table, one of which kept playing around with a water bottle.
Oh, this is
a
that.
sports bottle.
That was Renee.
Okay. And as he was standing there, he kept fiddling with it enough that he squeezed it too hard, and whatever fluid was inside came out, hit her wares, hit her table, splashed a little bit on her, and then the whole table reeked of alcohol.
Yep.
And that guy ran like his ass was on fire.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she actually had some handmade wooden charms on that table. They still reek of alcohol. They are going to reek of alcohol. And they took a long time to produce, a lot of work, and they're ruined. And this guy did not have to take any responsibility for that.
It goes
He
back
was
to
gone.
that. It goes back to that party mentality and that lack of wanton responsibility. And it's getting worse. And I would say it's one of those things where I know I'm almost 40, and I shouldn't be telling those in my day stories. I'm not quite at that age yet. However, I don't remember being this stupid. And I don't remember anybody in my crew being that stupid. You have to be able to respect things, otherwise they're not going to ask you back.
Honestly, as a younger attendee, I'm 22, and in all my years attending Anime Expo, Funimation, Comic-Con, several conventions, I've never seen a crowd this bad. Ever. Not even Funimation, a reputed party con. Everyone knows Funimation is kind of a party con. It's 24 hours, but
It's not kind of, it's completely.
yeah, but I've never seen people this disrespectful. Really? No one brought alcohol into the artist's alley or the dealer's hall, splashed it all over someone's wares, and ran off. It didn't happen. That doesn't happen there. And the fact that people are actually in the middle of the day carrying alcohol around inside the convention center. There are minors. There are families, and
It wouldn't surprise me if the people doing this were minors, frankly.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, there's definitely like a scene at Funimation, drinking, smoking, whatever. But I guess I didn't realize it was kind of this big at Anime Expo until this year. I've never seen it like this ever, and I've been attending since 2006, and it's just really gotten out of control.
Been attending since '93, and I still haven't seen it at this level.
It's horrible. It's out of control.
You know, did you visit any panels this year?
I went to the Funimation Panel, the
Okay.
industry panel where they do previews for new shows, they make announcements, like cast announcements and such. And that one was actually really nice. It was a little bit slow, but they were making an obvious effort to engage the crowd, and I think that appealed to a lot of the fans.
Okay.
And I don't know, it was fun. It was a little bit underwhelming, but I mean, a lot of my roommates actually said the same for all of their panels. Slightly underwhelming. Yeah.
So everybody was Nintendo.
Actually, Carol, she was one of the first in line for a panel, and she did not make it in. They split the line down the middle, and she was in the first half of that line. They scooched them over. They let them in, but she was at the end of that line. They were letting them in simultaneously. So she was at the end of that first little chunk. She didn't make it. She had been waiting in line for 2 hours.
Wow.
They refused to let her in. There are people who have been in line for half an hour. Nothing. No problem. I think that's really fun.
I can't argue that. I didn't actually see many panels myself because, again, I kept getting rapid schedule changes due to a lack of communication. I mean, when you don't tell me what the professional schedule is, I got to make my own, and I already filled it with a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, I owe an apology to somebody because I completely forgot a photo shoot today.
Oh, I did not hear about that.
It only occurred to me in the last hour.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I owe a young lady named Jen an apology, and she's going to get it. I'm trying to think because, unfortunately, a lot of things were kept very general for me at this con due to the communication issues and the aggressive nickel and diming.
Yeah.
There were 7 different events that had their own ticket charge of a minimum of $5, and from there it shot up exponentially.
Yeah, we're talking about into the 70s, yeah?
I know some of the concerts were in the 70s. I think 1 or 2 of them were. The most expensive average, I would say, would be around 50.
Okay.
The total, if you try to do everything at the cheapest, including grabbing a badge, would still cost you somewhere to the tune of about it was $230 before they announced the last one, so it's probably $260 before processing fees if you bought everything at the cheapest.
That's horrible. And, don't even get me started on Premier badges. Okay, that's just... Stop.
Unfortunately,
right
some of that may have actually turned out to be a decent value only if you don't want to wait for the rest of this nightmare. You got one complimentary event pass, I think. I don't know if you got a concert pass in addition to.
I know.
But you also got priority entrance to the dealer's hall, which they actually fulfilled for once.
They did? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a normal
The last
thing.
few years, they kept forgetting that, so instead of giving them an hour early, what they did was open the doors and then allow only Premier in for the first hour the hall was open.
How do you forget that? That's
It's not
your
forget,
job.
it's just, I mean, even like last year, 2
you
years
said
ago, I
forget.
overheard a merchandiser talk about how they kept forgetting to do that, so instead they just delayed everything else.
Like, you're saying forget. Like, they actually didn't consider it, like, when they were dealing with the vendors. That's
they didn't
really
even
not,
tell the vendors they were coming in an
That's
hour
really
early.
not an intelligent way to go about things.
Well, again, that was 2 years ago. You know, this year they actually seemed to be on the ball. The vendors were finally in the loop, so they had things set up pretty well ahead of time.
Oh, that's good. There were a lot of, like, bigger vendors, though. You're right. I didn't see very many smaller tables.
Yeah. I actually didn't wander a section of the hall until today. I actually finally today saw the whole thing. And the reasons for that were kind of varied, but mostly it was because the first couple of days I really didn't expect to be able to wander that much of it that quickly. It's been such a logjam before. I really had trouble navigating the hall.
It was like that today for me. I actually went into the artist alley, walked around for about 5 minutes, and then turned around and left. I had every intention of skimming the hall, and I couldn't do it. It was too packed, so I left.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny because day one I actually bought a couple items simply because I didn't think I'd be able to look around that much, and
Same.
I actually shopped more than I intended to. I didn't see the last section until today because every time I enter the hall I turn to the right. I didn't turn to the left, honestly. So today I actually took that left-handed turn at Albuquerque and saw the last few booths and nearly bought a couple things because, you know, of course, last day sales, but at the same time, there's a reason why they're last day sales, because those are the items people generally didn't want to begin with.
Yep. I don't even
There was one
bother.
booth that was probably selling 3 dozen of very tall vinyl figure based on Get a Robo for about $15 just to try to get rid of them.
They were also having, like, a giant sale on alpacas, apparently. My roommate was talking about it, like,
Foxes and llamas, too.
foxes and llamas forever.
I passed by a couple
They're just
booths.
everywhere.
I passed by a couple booths that seem to be getting rid of the last few years of Chinese Zodiac items.
Yeah, nerd staple.
Yeah.
Nerd staple.
It's getting there.
There was, like, an artist alley booth that was all foxes. I was like, oh, was it 2007? What?
You know, I stopped by the entertainment hall, and it was quasi-interesting.
Okay.
Because they removed the tabletop gaming, it almost felt like it put it a bit off balance.
Oh.
Like, the only gaming to be done in there was now video games. Some arcade machines, some sit-down consoles of different ages and everything. And it was relatively interesting, but it didn't quite have that balance without the cerebral sex trying to sit down and count cards and play whatever other type of games that didn't require a monitor.
I actually didn't make it over there at all, so it's interesting to hear that they did that, because I really didn't see that coming. Because so much of this, you know, batch of peoples, we enjoy social interaction, and gaming is a big
We
part
enjoy
of
social
that.
interaction, but we're not good at it.
No, we're not. And I think the gaming hall is a really good place for people who don't necessarily cosplay or, you know, interact in that social scene. It's a really good place to meet people. And tabletop gaming, it may not be my cup of tea, but I acknowledge that it's a fantastic social activity.
Yeah.
And the fact that they removed that, I didn't see it coming. Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise to me as well. They added a few more photo backdrops. They finally added floors to them. So it's not just a
Grungy.
Actually, the worst example of that was the Chinese shrine or the Japanese shrine, because they had the Torii arch, they had all these plastic sakura trees. It was very beautiful until you started looking at about the waist down in your photos and noticed there's all this cold concrete and tree stands and everything.
The concrete was always an issue.
They finally put stuff on the ground, so it looks like a whole room for once.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes me happy.
Let me see. They still had the Coastway repair station in the back. They had a large screen. However, the times I wandered around, they weren't playing anything. There were various tournaments going on, but I didn't stick around for them because I play video games for fun. I don't play them to be competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the video gaming wasn't anything I would call special. I would call it pretty well standard for conventions. My question, though, turns into, I don't understand why the artists are being moved down to Kensha Hall. That's like putting them in a freaking cave.
Yeah.
The way I would run things is if I have to move everything around, I would probably put the artists somewhere else. I can't say that West Hall would be good to separate it completely from where the commerce is going on.
Yeah.
But if I had my druthers, I would take the video gaming and move it down to Kensha Hall.
That makes sense. That actually, I never thought of it that way, but that would be a really fantastic place for it.
Well, do
as
that and
compared
buy
to-
some cheap, like, drywalls.
Yeah.
You know, put them up on posts. Let people, you know, draw on them, paint them. Treat it like an underground arcade.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool.
I mean, the way it's a parking structure, so it practically is an underground arcade. That would be where I'd put that stuff.
And did you happen to hear about what they're doing with the artist alley registration? They raised the price by $50. Next year, it's going to be $350 for a table, and a lot of artists didn't even break even this year. Apparently, that's what I've heard.
Some conventions do very well for artists. I heard that Funimation, even though Artist Alley is separate, is right across from the dealers also.
It is.
They did some good business.
Oh, yeah.
Anime LA, the one I personally staff at, I don't know the information because I tend to stay out of Artist Alley there.
I've heard good things.
The registration fills up quickly, but I never know how they do because, again, I'm a staffer. I generally keep my nose down working, so I don't pay a lot of attention to Artist Alley.
I don't know if it's going to be the same now that it's changed venues, but I've heard that since it's a smaller and more intimate con, they make a lot of really great sales because they
Okay.
can actually engage the people they're like dealing with. And it's a smaller room. It's a bit more exclusive as far as because there are fewer tables.
Right,
So I
but-
hear they do well.
Anime Expo, though, even though artists are complaining, I'm sure some will probably drop out over the cost increase. There's probably a few more that are going to move into those empty spaces just because of the amount of potential exposure. Somebody's always going to be willing to take a shot if they think they can make money.
That's true. That was totally
So, I mean, a price increase driving people out, can't say I'm surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised to hear new people are coming in. That has been something that's been driving me insane about Anime Expo since 2011, is that attendance still seems to be rising, even though I can't find anybody to give me a decent reason why that happens.
Yeah.
They don't have guests that are as good even as the ones at Funimation and SakuraCon, as far as I can tell. They don't have panels that are as interesting as
Their
Funimation
panels.
and a few other comic conventions I've been to. They don't seem to treat people very well here.
No.
But
No, they don't.
people continue to appear here even though they don't do anything particularly well. They don't even have concerts that apparently are as energetic as the ones at Funimation,
Yeah, and
which is a smaller venue.
yeah, it's true. And honestly, I keep saying I'm not going to come back, but I'm sitting here right now, you know? Like, it's one of those things, like, we talk about this convention and how flawed it is all the time, like, personally, between the two of us.
I can say
and we're
I
still
was
here.
assigned. Yeah, I was assigned here. You know,
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people who's been at this for over 2 decades. So, you know, Anthony thinks I know what I'm looking for. I think
Yeah.
I'm just enough of an ass to say fine.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's just like I have a lot of friends here too. Like all my roommates, we sat down and talked about it, and we expressed severe disappointment in this con in general, just because it's had so many opportunities to get better, and it kind of just didn't. And it's finally turning things around as of this year, but these are things that have been due for a while.
It is. Like I said, the organization has turned way around, and it's better run, but they're still not talking to each other, so it's still not a great con.
It could be, but it's not.
Yeah. There's also money issues, obviously. If you're going to have to charge for this many events to keep it running, you're already doing something wrong.
Yeah.
However, I
I
can't...
instantly thought of Comic-Con and how good they are.
I just... A lot of anime fans don't like that I make comparisons between Anime Expo and Comic-Con, but they're now coming to the point where they're of comparable size.
Yeah, it's
and
valid.
you really do have to start comparing the value now.
Yeah. Especially with the money, because Anime Expo's prices just keep going up. I wasn't going to attend when I heard about the base badge prices. I was not. I refused. Because I can't put that kind of money out for a con I don't enjoy fully. I don't. Like, Fanime, yeah, I'll go. I'll spend the money. But if I'm thinking about Anime Expo, the first thing that comes to mind are all the technical issues I've witnessed since 2006, and how a lot of them kind of just didn't get better. This
Yeah.
is the first year that registration wasn't hours and hours, and they should have been on that. We've been talking about it on
Yeah.
forums, in person, to staff, feedback on the site for years, and they never did anything about it. And now everyone's just like, whoa, they did it, but yeah, finally.
And that's the weirdest part, is that even though things have improved, I still haven't heard a lot of people that said things were great.
No, I haven't heard one person say that. We all kind of agree that this con, and this word may not entirely fit, kind of mediocre. For what you're paying, it's pretty mediocre.
Okay, that I can agree with.
Thank you.
It does bother me that at con registration prices are technically more than a ticket to Disneyland. Mm-hmm. I think I would probably save money if I did that for a day.
I think I'd rather go to Disneyland.
My goodness. And the outside area of Los Angeles is improving. They're building a lot of new condos, and they're about halfway to 3/4 done. It looks like, with the new Wilshire Tower Hotel and International Plaza. However, there is still a really interesting issue with the colorful individuals running around. There's plenty of homeless, plenty of people pandering. One guy stopped me, he and his tattooed wife, and said they had just moved here from Ohio and needed a little bit of money to make ends meet. And I told them I don't carry cash while I'm traveling.
Yeah.
I've met several different people who tried to come up with interesting stories, and quite frankly, I didn't know where they were coming from, so I didn't really want to hand over anything.
Yeah.
So, it's still not a great area to wander around.
No, it's not. Sean and I went to go get some hot dogs on the native day one, and we were approached by a homeless man trying to sell us something obviously stolen. Mm-hmm. We were in front of a hot dog cart, so I bought him a hot dog. I was not about to give him cash.
Yeah.
But even that I felt uncomfortable with. I was like, oh gee, I hope he doesn't sell the hot dog, because he wasn't eating it in front of me. Like, it was just a little bit like, I don't come to a con to feel apprehensive about where I'm going. Like, I had to go to Target, and I had to recruit Jeremy to walk with me because I didn't feel safe. Mm-hmm. That's a thing that happens in LA. It shouldn't be a problem. This is our vacations. These are our vacations. We're spending a lot of money to be here. We're taking time off work. This should not be such a massive concern, but it is. And there are a lot of young girls walking around in skimpy outfits that shouldn't be worried about certain things happening, but they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else to cover most of the major subjects. There's a moderate nightlife in the area, I would say. There are a few clubs in decent walking distance. However,
walking is a problem at night.
Yeah, I couldn't point them out to you myself because I've never been to the club set. Speaking of which, I did stop by Lounge 21 during the Cosplay Demons Crystal Tokyo.
I heard about that. How'd it go?
Again, I am not a dancer and I'm not a drinker, and that's two of the major things that happened there. So even then, I wouldn't say it was terribly dull. There were people around there that seemed lively, talking. You know, the cosplay deviants were actually dressed up as variations of Sailor Moon characters in like flimsy teddies and lingerie and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was a 21 plus venue, although I don't think there was any actual stripping occurring.
Okay.
There was a pole set up for dancing, but I don't think there was stripping occurring. I stayed for about half an hour.
Okay.
And the crowd was lively without being stupid.
That's nice. That's not like the raves. That's really nice.
Well, I get the feeling that's because the raves were Anime Expo. Those were Anime Expo dances. And Lounge 21, even though it was an Anime Expo room, I got the feeling that this particular Crystal Tokyo dance was being run by the cosplay deviants themselves and maybe a few other people they hired. So it seemed like they had a very good idea as to how to control the room, how to staff the room, how to watch it, how to keep people hyped without pushing them over the edge. You know, they seem to really have an idea as to how to make everything fit together.
That sounds good. That sounds nice.
And, you know, I got a couple of interesting photos. There was some guy who was dressed up as Captain Jack, who I took his photo with a couple of girls just for the sake of. Captain Jack Sparrow, I should say, not Captain Jack Morgan. And he actually sought me out after he gathered up a few more and he wanted a big group photo.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just interesting to say Captain Jack sought me out just so I could take his picture. You know, a few other people, and people were friendly enough about photos in general.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not my scene. It's not my dig. My version of a party is like sitting around with a bunch of people talking over pizza.
Yeah.
But I would say if I was dragged by a bunch of people who said that they wanted to go to another like cosplay deviants party, I would probably go with them just to people watch.
It sounds chill.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to go to the dances and raves at cons just to people watch. It's interesting.
Actually, I would say that the thing about Crystal Tokyo that made it fun was that they were dragging people out to dance even though they weren't the obviously practiced dancers. You know, there was a bunch of awkward stuff happening out there, but there was no booing, there was no shoving people around. They were all just kind of getting their groove going, and they were having a good time. It was really interesting to watch.
That sounds much more relaxed than your typical anime convention dance, because a lot of the time there's a lot of pressure, and if you aren't, you don't have a certain look, you're not going to be appreciated on the dance floor, in you're going to be booed and mocked.
Yeah, there were pudgy people, there were fat people, there were awkward people. It was nerd dancing at its best.
Oh yeah, I'm proud. A+. I need...
You need what?
I need to pee.
Okay, that sounds fun and awkward.
Do you know how much water I've had in the last 3 hours? Too much.
I can't say I counted.
4 T's. 4 T's.
4 T's. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what you were asking for a moment there. It's one of those things where even when I'm negative, I try to enjoy myself because I never know when things will turn around. And just when I think things for this convention will turn around, something else bizarre or negative occurs.
Yeah.
And even when I'm not interested in a con, I don't wish it to go away or to be destroyed or anything. However,
I just want to see it get better.
Yeah, I wish well, but I just don't see things improving as they are. I don't think the convention is terribly well run. There do seem to be some decent ideas floating around, but nobody knows how to implement them.
Yeah. Can I state something very plainly regarding the CEO?
I'm not sure you want to do that.
Really?
I'm already marked for death by these people. I don't think you want to be added to that list.
But it's important. Oh well. I think everybody knows, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I can't think of too much more just because it was still a bit of a pain in the ass to get stuff done.
Every day.
And it really shouldn't be.
No.
God. Wouldn't that be just the cap on it? Wish it was better.
Yeah.
That's about all you can really say. Wish it was better.
That's kind of been our feedback for the last few years, though. Like, I remember when I first, started rooming with you in 2009.
10.
No, because 2008 was my last year not rooming with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was 16 in 2009. So, I remember, every year since then, we talk about the convention. Like, we'll go down to Little Tokyo after, we'll be driving back, and we talk about the convention, and the one consistent thing is, wow, there's a lot that they could improve on. There's a lot that they could improve on, but they're not, and they haven't. And they're finally taking a step in the right direction, but think about how much is still going wrong. And think about all the new issues that popped up. This convention has just been really problematic for a really long time, and I want to see it get better too, but I don't know if it's worth coming back to next year. I'd rather put my money into Comic-Con, or Fanime, or Anime LA, because this con is such a crapshoot. You never know whether you're going to even have enough fun to make it worth it.
Kamikaze actually puts on a pretty good show here.
Really?
I think so.
So you can't blame the venue. Cool. Good to know.
I still could. I mean, I think they put on a good show despite the venue. I told some stories last year about some LACC staff who harassed me for doing nothing more than standing in one place.
Ew.
And I wasn't even the cause of the issue, yet she felt like one of their staffers felt like taking it out on me. Okay, so I just heard a story during your quick break here that I want repeated. Mary.
Yes.
Come here.
Get over
I'm
here.
Okay, you actually sat in on the Evangelion panel and concert?
Ooh,
I did.
lucky.
Not the panel, but the concert. But she spoke
Okay.
a little bit at the beginning of the
Now
concert.
who was the songstress who was there?
Yoko Takahashi.
Okay. And you said, go ahead and tell your story about how you tried to line up for this.
We went there around an hour earlier than we were supposed to line up. Line up was supposed to start at 1. And the staff, we approached them and we asked them if we had to start lining up now, because I just saw people sitting. Nobody was really online, or in line, I should say.
No, they were all online. I'm sure everybody had a phone.
But they said the concert was being delayed for an hour or 2 hours even.
Oh my God.
That's what they told him. So we should start lining up anyways to be ready. But the concert wasn't going to start until later because there were some difficulties with stage things.
I feel bad for the people who didn't bring something to do.
Yeah, so I walked away, and my friend that was with me, she was like, "You're in line up, are you?" And I'm like, "Nope." So I just went away and went around, and I came back around the time that we were supposed to actually come in, and everybody was in already. I didn't have to line up. I just walked in, and we sat down, and the concert did start a little later, but it didn't take long at all, to be honest. So I thought it was a little, I don't know.
There was a miscommunication.
Yeah, a little. But at the same time, I don't know if that's what they told him to tell other people or what. But yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, wow.
How was the show, though?
She was amazing. I actually cried a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not even. Yeah, I like her voice, but I wasn't even like a huge fan of her. I actually got the ticket by a friend that he couldn't make it, so I was lucky. And she was just amazing. She was in full costume with wings and horns and everything. She spoke some English whenever she came in. She said, "Don't worry, I'm still human," and started saying like jokes like that. And after she sung her first theme, she sung, and then she started speaking in Japanese. And I think her translator was delayed, so she was speaking Japanese, and then she waited a few minutes or a few seconds, and then she was like, "Uh-oh," and then she started calling her translator because they weren't in there. And I believe a minute after, she came running, and then they started translating.
Okay.
They show special videos that they made specially.
It probably
for-
wasn't a translator. It was just some guy who was coming out because she called everybody a son of a bitch. And didn't want to admit it.
Probably. I mean, she made it with a really sweet voice, so because it didn't matter.
The voice wins.
So yeah, it was a really good. I had to leave earlier than the ending of the show, but she was super sweet, and it was a really good show.
It sounds nice.
Yeah.
I love NGD.
I just, man, it is hard to really summarize it all because we saw a fair amount, but we didn't really see a lot just because the schedule.
Yeah.
That was actually another thing that cheesed me was a late announcement of all these concerts and panels already running up against other panels and scheduled items and
It was really,
other things that could already be happening.
They've always had scheduling problems, though. Ever since I've had, been in attendance, they've always had problems with that. And, I mean, there are so many things they could do to be clearer, but they just kind of don't.
It was even worse by the fact that they didn't even start selling tickets for the Evangelion panel until the day before we left for the con. 2 days before the con was when they started actually selling those tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You'd have to kind of be on the ball and keeping up
and not
with that.
taking a plane.
And not taking a plane. Absolutely.
And that's the other thing that kind of jacks up this convention is the idea that they're announcing all these late items, especially in the last 2 weeks before a con, and this is supposed to be one of those major items where people are flying out. They need to know this stuff in advance.
Yeah, there were people at the concert I went to that came all the way from Japan just to see their idols at a smaller venue. Because they were used to Tokyo Dome status. They would not be able to get that close. But at this venue, they at least had a better view. Mm-hmm. There are people coming from across the world, and Anime Expo doesn't act like they have people coming that far.
The last few years they haven't. This is the first time I've seen actual Japanese guests in years.
No, back in like 2007, 2008, we saw a few walking around, me
like
and my
I said,
friends.
they haven't come in years. There used to be guided tours that came through years ago, and now there aren't.
Sounds cool. That sounds so cool. Sorry. Oof.
So there's a big repair job that needs to be done.
Yeah,
And
big.
it appears to be a top-down one.
Yeah.
So, gotta close it up because I have 36 hours to pack my stuff before I have to do this all over again.
Woohoo!
And next time anybody hears from me, I'm going to be gathered with Steve, Jesse, V, and Anthony and Brandon, actually, at Comic-Con.
Yep.
And we've already managed to build up a schedule to the point we're running stupid.
Oh my god.
You're
You're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. The only thing left to decide is who's going to run the Walking Dead escape.
I want to do that.
I did it last year. There is actually one more thing I wanted to share because I was messing around with the internet while I was busy, and of course the Anime Expo happens over July 4th weekend. There was a man who was killed by fireworks. There's a guy in Maine on Saturday, on July 4th. He's 22 years old. His name is Devin Staples.
Oh, Maine.
And while he and his friends were messing around with fireworks near the Canadian border, he decided to take one of those mortar launching fireworks and put it on top of his head. He said he was going to light it. He was playing around with his friends. Mm-hmm. And they joked with him not to do it. They turned their back, and next thing you hear this giant whoop sound, and Devin is dead.
That's horrible.
Turned out he actually lit it. I'm guessing he misguessed the fact that when you have a mortar firework, you actually need to plant it in the ground because the backdraft will actually do some damage.
Yeah.
And as they put it, there wasn't a point in calling an ambulance when it happened because he was just gone.
Oh, that is so sad. I mean, at least it was quick.
Yeah.
That's one way to look at it. I mean, it could have been a lot more painful.
The worst part is his friends actually said that he was known to not do stupid things, say he would do stupid things just to get a laugh.
Oh.
In this case, he actually followed through on his promise.
And it cost him his life.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And that was one of 2 stupid deaths over the course of 24 hours.
That is a shame.
The other one wasn't on July 4th, at least as far as I can tell. However, the other is up there when it comes to stupid, because there was a man in Texas who was visiting a harbor with his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. He wanted to take a swim.
Oh, this one.
Meanwhile, they were closing down the harbor. They told him that they had seen something and they thought it was a safety issue. They were just warning him they were getting everybody out of there and shutting down early. And one person told him that they thought they saw an alligator. Mm-hmm. His response was he wasn't afraid of any fucking gator and jumped in with his lady friend. Didn't take long before he was dragged under.
Yep, I believe you.
It only took a few minutes before a body came floating up face down. They knew he was dead, and then he was dragged back down again.
Oh, wow.
They found his body with puncture wounds in the chest, and the left arm was rather savaged.
What about the lady friend?
Apparently she got away okay. I'm guessing the gator was a little too busy munching on stupid.
Oh, that's so depressing. I mean, I feel bad because that was like an actual person and all, but when you're doing those things and you know there's a risk, it's kind of your fault. They told you not to go into the water.
Oh, the local sheriff said it correctly. You know, whether it comes to animals, environment, automobiles, machinery, those warning signs are there for a reason. You better listen to them.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he thought he knew better.
I'm sure that if... Was his name Devin? Fireworks kid?
Devin, yeah.
Devin, if he had maybe,
if he had put
checked
down
the label, it would have said, hey, this is dangerous. Don't light it and then hold on to it, yo.
To be fair, most fireworks already say point away from face.
Yeah.
However, now they'll have to print a new addendum to that. Don't put on head.
Don't put on head. Don't put on body. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's really a shame that 2 people are dead because they couldn't just maybe use their brains. Boo.
Well, to be fair, one of them is dead because he obviously carried a lighter.
Yeah. Nah. He wanted to be funny. He wasn't very funny.
Yeah.
He probably traumatized his friends a lot. So.
Yeah, the summary to Anime Expo, though, is 2 items can really improve this show. And one is a change in staff attitude so that they actually start talking to each other because they are capable, but they're not working together.
And they could also be a bit more engaged.
Yeah. And the other item is the fan base needs to be retaught what a convention is. It's not a 4-day party.
It's not.
Even party cons are not a 4-day party. They're still a convention by trade. Mm-hmm. And we need to behave.
Yeah, or we're not going to have a venue anymore.
Or we're not going to have a con, period.
Yep. And it's really sucky that this is even an issue.
Yeah, but it's a conversation that needs to be had nowadays.
Absolutely.
All right, so I will edit this. I'm sure Anthony will be able to put it up in the near future. But yeah, the next show will be Comic-Con, and then after that, I believe, is Long Beach Comic-Con. So it's going to be a busy few months, and then after that is likely Kamikaze. And then it comes around to Anime Expo again. Mm-hmm. No, not Anime Expo. Anime Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. ALA.
Yeah.
Fanime. I don't know if you have any smaller ones in between.
I think there's still Long Beach Comic Expo that happens in February.
Oh, okay, I've never been to that one.
It's the same people that do Long Beach Comic Con. They do a biannual.
Oh, okay. Oh, you talked about that one
Yeah.
like a month ago.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah. I need to see about hotel. I think no, I did reserve a room.
Oh, cool.
Oh my god, I have to go through lists.
You have too many conventions, bro.
I do. I do. I have pre-packed bags. I go to so many these days. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. It will be the Fallout show from San Diego Comic-Con. Thank you very much. Have a happy 4th of July. I am Jeremy.
And I'm Elise.
Don't jerk and drive, and don't put shit on your head. Thank
Don't
you
do
very
it.
much.
Thank you.